OMTimes Radio, IOM FM. Hello. Welcome to I Am Wisdom with your host Katrina Cavanough. I Am Wisdom is all about the connection between mind work and energy work, spirituality, and finding easy, everyday ways to heal your life. Katrina Cavanough is a qualified therapist and one of Australia's leading intuitives and spirituality coaches. Katrina will be taking your calls and bringing you some special guests. Settle in, relax, and enjoy the healing on I Am Wisdom with Katrina Cavanough on OMTimes Radio.
Hello and welcome to the show. I'm Katrina Cavanough and you're listening to I Am Wisdom on OMTimes Radio. Well, good morning. It is here in Australia and good evening. It is there in the United States. I think it's 5 p.m. Where you are in Pacific time, and here it's 9 a.m. on Monday morning. So you're easing into your Sunday night, running around, preparing for your week to come, and I've been there and done that and got all the girls' school uniforms ready and got them ready for school and had a nice, relaxing but busy Sunday evening. And here we are today at the beginning of a wonderful week. So on today's show, I wanted to talk to you about one of the other wisdoms that was shared with me, and that is that your thoughts matter. Okay, and really the central topic here is I want to show you how to harness the power of your thoughts. Now, before you may think that you may think that what I'm going to talk about today is fairly regular, common knowledge. We all know that our thoughts matter, and as a therapist working in mainstream practice, I'll use a technique or an approach or a model called CBT, cognitive behavior therapy, and people are very familiar with that model. And that's a great model because it actually does acknowledge and has research to substantiate that there is a direct link between our thoughts, our behavior, and therefore our feelings and our experience of ourselves. So, but what I'm doing today is I'm sharing with you a little bit of a unique way of seeing your thoughts. The model I've been given that I'll be talking to you today and the steps that go with that, the very easy steps you can use, are things that were shown to me as a result of my experience working across both the physical and non-physical worlds. As you may have already heard, my story is large, but one aspect of my story is that I worked for a period of time in a hospital where I was the social worker in a very busy ER, and over that time, about 10 years it was, and just remember that was always a part-time job, additional job. So it was in that time I worked with over 400, somewhere between 400 and 500 deaths. And the reason I don't know the exact number is, of course, I never did count, but that's my best estimate based on the amount of times I'd be called out as an after-hours on-call social worker. And in that time, just to briefly recap, I came to experience both the two sides of my life, my spiritual life and my awareness of the non-physical world, and then my mainstream life. And those two sides came together for me, not really for anyone else. I was always very mindful of my professionalism and commitment and code of ethics as a social worker. So I never, of course, disclosed to family or patients if they were still with us, and certainly not my medical colleagues as well. Did I say, well, look, I know we've got Mavis here, and she's, soon to leave us, but I need you to know that I'm aware I'm communicating with Mavis in spirit, and she's moving in and out of her body in those last few stages of life. Certainly didn't share that with anyone because firstly, it was not my role to do so. It truly wasn't, that decision was not guided by any fear or concern about people's reactions, because I kind of don't really have that. But it was more for me about really respecting my professional role there as a social worker and the context in which people have came to know me as. So this would happen, along the way. And as I've shared on the other shows previously, what would happen for me is that as I was communicating soul to soul, is how I call it, what I refer to it as, soul to soul, my soul to their soul, my energy to their energy. Maybe I should call it energetic communication, but soul to soul, when I was communicating soul to soul with them, I was amazingly fortunate as they would some of the souls would reflect on their life, the life that they just lived as whoever. And as they reflected, they shared information, reflections, insights about themselves and their relationships and their relationship with themselves and the world, and how they saw themselves and how they saw life. And they did that from the most unique position of the afterlife, and having in that state almost, I guess, of life review. So it was a very privileged position, and from that I've drawn some themes. And one of the themes that I was given was that our thoughts really matter. And what happened was I kept on getting that message, and then I sat with my own spiritual team, and I asked them to show me what it was about that wisdom that I needed to share with you. I'd gotten obviously some understanding and some inclinations and some clues from the reflections, but I really needed to nut it out, the concept of, well, if this is really important, this is how you want me to, and you want me to share this with the world, what is it exactly that I need to be saying to them about the fact that our thoughts matter? I've read a lot over the years, of course, and studied a lot in my traditional studies as well as my more metaphysical work. So I know that our thoughts are powerful. I know that, but I wanted to know what was unique about what I had to say. And so they gave me a model that I'll be talking to you about later in the show. I put a Facebook call out over the last few days for people who wanted me to share some intuitive reflections or psychic insights into some question that they've got about their life right now. And I've got a number of people who have done that, and so I've got a list of people I'll be working through in the show today, and I'll be sharing that with you as we move along, maybe after the second break. So I'll be answering some of those questions, and I'm really looking forward to that. And just know that I'll be doing that each week. So if you're someone who's listening now or listening to the podcast, and you actually have a question that you have sitting on your heart, within your body, something that's really troubling you, or something you would like some guidance also or an answer to, then you can pop onto my Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Katrina Cavanough. That's KatrinaCavan for Nelly, OUGH. So that's facebook.com/Katrina Cavanough, and you'll find my page there. Like my page and just watch out for it, because a few days, usually 2 or 3 days before the show, I'll always be posting ask your questions here. And for the first few the people that actually write their question, they'll be the ones that I'll be able to answer, because on average I'll be able to answer about 2 to 3 questions depending on how we go. So pop your question there and get on board and like my page, please. Also, I'm available on Twitter, and you can find all of those links to the relevant. I've just signed actually up for what's it called? Not Pinterest, the other one, Instagram. I'm on Instagram now, and I'm really enjoying getting to know that. So if you want to hook up with me there, that's really good too. But to find the links to most of those, have a look at my website, which is katrinacavanough.com. Again, that's KatrinaCavanough.com. It's a website that's my current website. It needs a bit of revision, but it's where you'll find some information about me. So let's begin with the concept of how to harness the power of your thoughts, because it's really amazing and really, really powerful once you really understand that. And so to do that, I'm going to begin in the next few minutes before we go to our first break, talking about the way our thoughts are actually layered. So what I understand is that we essentially have what I describe as 3 layers of thought. We have the outer layer of thought, the middle layer of thought, and we have the inner layer of thought. So the first layer is what I refer to, and what many people refer to as, thoughts become things. Okay, so this is the outer layer where we have our thoughts that really create our future. This is where we use the idea that our thoughts become things. But so by using this level of thought, we can truly create a reality that reflects our dreams and all the wonderful things that we want. Of course, we need to add action and lots of it, some visualization and some more action. And really, this is the place where we really conceptualize our goals. And it's from this point, this layer of thinking, that we then connect with ourselves and become aware of ourselves as energetic beings of the light, or energetic beings that are the same energy as God and in the flow of God. And therefore, we are powerful creators of our own lives. But that's the layer of thought that happens at. That's the way I understand it and describe it. So really, it's the outer layer of thought, which for me represents the creative process, whether it's goal setting, intention setting, just really getting clear about what it is we want in our lives. That's where that happens. There is another layer of thought, and that's what I refer to as, it's quite an ingenious description. It's the middle layer of thought. That's my little joke. So it's the middle layer of thought, and this is where we talk a lot about, how we respond matters. And we talk a lot, to be honest, this is where I felt for a long time my happiness resided. I really believed that if I could get this right, if I could get right the way I responded to life, then I would experience much more happiness. And it's true to a degree, but it doesn't hold the absolute truth. And we're going to talk about that coming up soon after the break. So this middle layer of thought is where we hear people talk about when they say, look, it's not what happens to you, but how you respond to it that matters. And that's right. It is how you respond to it that matters. And that is important, but it's not the key, the absolute key to happiness. We're coming up to a break soon, and after the break, what I'm going to be talking about is explaining more about this middle layer of thought. Then I'm going to be talking about the inner layer of thought, which is where the key to happiness truly is. And as we describe that, we'll then start talking about the steps that you need to take to really change the way you think and therefore feel and therefore perceive your life. This is really magic and amazing information. I use this in my own life. I use this with my clients, and it is a life changer. And I want this for you. I want you to experience the difference that can come and you can experience in your life from understanding this new way of seeing your thoughts and this new way of interacting with your thoughts and yourself to know yourself in a completely different way.
For conscious minds. OMTimes.
Hi, my name is Monica and I'm the host of Co-Creating Now. Give yourself an opportunity to connect with your all-knowing higher self and manifest joy, love and peace together every Tuesday, 11 a.m. Eastern.
Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community. As difficult as it is to believe, there are places in Africa where human traffickers sell albino children and their body parts for use in magic rituals. Humanity Healing International is actively working in Uganda to change this paradigm. The Albino Rescue Project finds albino children who are at risk and places them in safe schools and environments where they can learn and grow free from fear. To learn more or to sponsor a child, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Circle of Hearts Radio is a sanctuary on the airwaves. Join me, Grandmother Elia, in the circle on Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern as I share information to both enlighten and nourish your soul.
Free your mind with OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Hello, welcome back. My name's Katrina Cavanough, and this is I Am Wisdom on OMTimes Radio. It's a wonderful, beautiful, sunny summer's day here in Australia, and I hope wherever you are, you're keeping warm and feeling peaceful and relaxed and really enjoying the show. It's today we're talking about the capacity that we all have to harness the power of our own thoughts. And before the break, I started talking to you about the different layers of our thinking. And once we understand the different layers of our thinking, we can then have a model to work with that we can utilize to really change and action and really understand and really intervene in the way our thoughts flow and therefore create more happiness. So before the break, I was talking about the different layers of thought. So just to recap, essentially we have an outer layer of thought. This layer of thinking, I think, sits the furthest away from the innermost part of ourselves, although it radiates out into and connects with the core of who we are, because this is the layer of thought where I call this layer of thought, thoughts become things. This is where we conceptualize our goals. This is where we develop our vision boards. This is where we decide the things that we want in our life. And so even if you're not working metaphysically and you're sitting back and going, gosh, I'd like to go to that university, I would like this job, I would like that car, I would like this type of relationship, that's that layer of thinking that you're engaging in at that time. Now, the next layer of thinking is what I refer to as the middle layer of thought. And this is the layer of thought that has been given a lot of airtime and very, very importantly so. This is the layer of thinking where we talk about how we respond is what matters. So we hear people saying all the time, and I do this in my own coaching and in my own life, it's not what happens to you, but how you respond to it that matters. And that's very true. But what I guess I'm going to be talking to you about is that whilst that holds some level of satisfaction and peace and happiness, that it doesn't give us the ultimate form of release and relief and peace of mind and therefore happiness that the next layer of thinking does, which is our most inner layer of thought. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But just let's be clear about this second layer of thought, this middle layer of thought. Our middle layer of thought, where we think about it's not what happens to us, but how we respond that matters, is where we have things like, we're driving along in the highway. This is the common example. Driving along in the highway, car cuts us off, and we've got two choices. We can either think, for God's sake, what are you doing? This is, and it feels very personal. He's out to get me. I saw him look at me. I saw him do that to me. We can either, and gosh, we've all been there at different times. We can either think that, or we can actually think, you know what, this is a fellow who's clearly not been thinking. This is not personal to me. That was a little bit annoying. I did notice that was a bit annoying. So that meant I had to, that was a bit dangerous, or I had to brake or whatever it was. But I accept that that's not actually personal for me. And then that it's much easier at that point to wish that person on to have a very nice day. And to feel a greater sense of peace within yourself. So you can tell the feeling space difference between those two approaches. So it's a very important level of thinking, and it is key to happiness to perceive each event from a perspective where essentially you're not the victim. Essentially you don't see that people are doing things personally to you. Even I would go so far as to say, excuse me. Even I could go so far as to say when things that are actually directed to you. So say, for example, workplace bullying and harassment. Now, I've been through quite a significant episode of that in my life. And even now, I have the choice to look at that and say, that was extremely personal to me. And look, gosh, at the time, it certainly felt like that. And there's been lots of times since when it certainly felt like that. But I also have another choice there. I can see it as a result of the broader systemic issues within the agency. I can see it as a result of the individual people involved, their sadness, their anger, their bitterness. And I know in a way that stuff isn't personal because those same people have gone on to do the same thing to other people. So I know, therefore, it's about their own behavior. So see the difference between I can feel completely overwhelmed and at a loss about that, which I'm not saying I haven't had times like that. I'm human, of course I have. But I've now come to a place where I look at that and say, well, that was actually about the individual person. That's about the broader system. And that's not actually personal. And I can go on in my own life and create and experience all that I wish, basically, and that's exactly what's happened since then. So that's the middle layer of thought, where it's not what happens to us, but how we respond that matters. And yes, there is happiness there, but it's not the be all and end all that I thought for a long time it was. Now, what my beautiful, loving spiritual team have shown me, and this is the critical point here, this is the beautiful, beautiful, wonderful news that this wisdom has for you. It's actually our most inner layer of thought, the layer of self-perception that matters the most. Now, again, you might be hearing that and thinking, well, of course, I already knew that, but let me explain the point of difference here. The point of difference here with this wisdom is this. Sure, your self-perception about, looking at your body and going, gosh, I'm not liking my body, or I don't like, the way I am as a person, or those kind of self-perceptions. Of course, that type of self-perception is very, very important, and of course it's important to work on that. But the thing that the key aspect here is, the most important experience of self-perception is your perception of yourself in the way that you respond to your life events. So let me say that again. Your perception of yourself as you critique how you have responded to life events. So what that means is this. Someone you love passes away. You, of course, grieve. There you have one level or layer of sadness, despair, emotional turmoil, confusion, guilt. It may be all kinds of things. Many of us then run a critique, an inner assessment of how we're going with the grief. We say things like, oh, I should not be grieving. He's been passed away for years now. Oh, I shouldn't be grieving that way. Or why am I reacting like this? That's one example. You may, gosh, parenting is loaded with these examples. So, as a parent, you may have parented your child in a certain way, and it wasn't your greatest parenting moment. So in that moment, you have regret, you have worry, you have disappointment in yourself that perhaps it wasn't the best parenting moment. Next time, if you had your time again, you'd do it better. So then on top of that layer of sadness, we can then put another layer of self-criticism, where we're saying, gosh, why am I feeling so bad about the way I parented? Why am I feeling so bad about that? Why am I getting so angry at myself? I hope you're understanding what I mean. I'll give you another example just to keep bringing the examples to you to help you understand the concept. Another example might be you're in business. I'm in business. And I have to say, it's been a wild ride, and, risk, tick, challenged, tick, inspired, absolutely, admiring of myself, absolutely. But gee, it's been an interesting journey. So when you're in business or employment, you can run, again, a constant criticism. So for example, at one point I was feeling very frightened. I was feeling some fear about being in business, and what that would mean, and how I would manage the workload. There's only one of me, and there is a lot of work. Working with people, so it's important that I'm prompt and efficient, and I attend properly. So I'm carrying and juggling the balls and carrying the load, and there's all these amazing opportunities coming my way, so I'm responding to those. And so at that point, and I started to feel tired, and I started to feel frustrated with myself. And I started to feel, how would you say, overwhelmed. I felt overwhelmed. And at that point, I noticed that I started to feel frustrated at myself because I was feeling overwhelmed. Can you see what I mean? So you've got the one level of feeling overwhelmed, and then you now have this other layer of, on top of that, assessing your response to the actual situation. So you can see how that flows as into the most inner layer of thought, because you've got your outer layer of thinking, which is your goals. You've got your inner layer, your middle layer of thought, which is how you are responding to the things that happen to you. And then you have this inner layer of thought, your self-perception, which is where you're assessing and perceiving yourself, and your capacity, and how you have always rating how you've responded to that which has happened to you. So what I understand and what I've been shown is that it's this inner layer of thought where we have a choice. We have a choice. We can be self-critical and say things like, I shouldn't still be grieving, which adds that extra layer of heaviness to the grief. We can be self-critical and say, gosh, why am I feeling overwhelmed at the fact that I'm, working out how to run a business? Which again adds another layer to the feeling of overwhelmed. And we can be angry at ourselves at the fact that we are feeling frustrated with, the way we're interacting with others. So there's another layer again. So I'm using those examples to show you that we have another choice though. And that choice is to see ourselves in that moment through a lens of compassion. There it is, lovely compassion. So if we chose a lens that is compassionate towards ourselves, then we would be more likely to have thoughts such as, you know what? I did the best I could at the time based on what I knew, and my best was good enough. So okay, you know what, I'm grieving and it's been going on for 2 or 3 years now, or I'm grieving in a certain way, but based on what I know so far in my life, I'm doing the best I can. And if you think about it, that just feels so much softer. We're coming up to another break, and I'm going to share with you after the break 3 simple steps that you can take to apply this concept into your life in a much more practical way. But I want you to consider, as we have the break, the idea that you have a choice. You have a choice in how you perceive yourself. Are you going to see yourself through a lens of criticism, or are you going to give yourself a bit of a break and see yourself through a lens of compassion as you work through this experience we call life and your response to your life? If you can allow yourself to see your responses to life through a beautiful lens of compassion, you will experience a greater sense of relief and a greater sense of peace, and you will feel lighter and happier, and it is a lot easier. I'll speak to you soon. We're coming to a break, and I'm looking forward to speaking to you. I'm also going to be responding to those questions as well, those intuitive questions. That's going to be fun. But I'll talk to you with those 3 steps after the break. Stay with me.
Feed your soul with waves of consciousness on OMTimes Radio.
The Conscious Parenting Radio Show provides inspiration and resources for loving, empowering, and respecting your children and yourself. Join me, Timothy, every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time as we consciously explore proven ways of living together in happiness, health, and harmony.
Being a radio host on IOM-FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network. What if business could be fun? What if business is the adventure of living? What are you choosing? Where do you do business that makes it easier, more fun, or more joyful for you? We'd love to see where you do business. Connect with us on Instagram at Joy of Business or Twitter at Joy of Business, and share your pictures with hashtags BusinessDoneWhere and Joy of Business. Let's change the world with business. Join Elliot Jolish, the business therapist, each Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern for the Elliot Jolish Hour, as he interviews business experts on your behalf. And you're invited to email your business questions to questions@ecjgroup.com for answers, live, on air every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on the Elliot Jolish Hour. Bringing you the best of the conscious minds in the world. OMTimes Radio, your conscious lifestyle on steroids.
Hi, it's Katrina Cavanough here, and thank you for listening to I Am Wisdom on OMTimes Radio. It's a beautiful Monday morning here in Australia, and it's about 5:30, I think, in the United States in Pacific time. So I hope you're easing into a lovely, relaxing Sunday evening over there, and I hope all of us here in Australia are gearing up for a phenomenal and fantastic week. I hope that you're setting some beautiful intentions for yourself today, that you will experience lots of laughter and fun. That was my intention this morning as I was hanging the clothes on the clothesline in the early hours of this morning in the beautiful, crisp summer's morning. It was beautiful. I set the intention that I will find lots of opportunities to laugh today, which is pretty interesting because, I've got a day full of coaching. I've got some coaching clients, I've got some therapy clients, I've got a whole lot of people who are experiencing varying degrees of sadness. So, but what's really amazing about my sessions is somehow, I'm not sure how it happens, but we do end up laughing somewhere in there most times. So, getting back to the show today we're talking about your own capacity to harness the power of your thoughts. Now, our thoughts and food, I think I've worked out. Thoughts, food, and rest are three key ingredients to a happy life. And thoughts is a huge one, certainly. And we're not really taught, we are a little bit these days in the school system, but really, certainly when I was growing up, we weren't really taught how to think in a healthy way. So that's another area of mine that's a passion, and that's another conversation for another show about my passions of teaching children to think in a healthy way. However, let's get back to today's content, which is all about harnessing the power of your thoughts. Now, before the breaks, I've talked about the three layers of thinking, and I've just before the break explained to you the most important layer of thinking, which is our most inner layer of thoughts, which is our self-perception. Not our self-perception of, gosh, I've got too much weight on, or I need to, I wish I didn't look like this, or I should have. Oh gosh, all those usual type of things. It's the layer of self-perception where you're critiquing the way you are responding to what's happening to you in life. So, for example, if we're grieving, and we've been grieving for a little while, we're then experiencing that. But then on top of that, our most inner layer of thinking may be saying to ourselves, gosh, I shouldn't be grieving that way, or, how come I can't get over this grief? So you're kind of being critical of the way you're responding to the loss. So I'm inviting you to consider another way, which is at that point of self-perception, to choose a lens of self-compassion towards yourselves. We think that thinking fondly and compassionately about others is really important, and it certainly is, but I would put to you that thinking about ourselves compassionately is the first and most important point where compassion should be applied in your life. If you're going to make a choice between the two, start with yourself, because then it will flow anyway to everyone else. So let's talk about the 3 steps that I would like to offer you today. 3 simple steps that you can use to really harness this amazing new truth about your thinking. So the first thing is to become aware. Awareness is key. You would know that. But we all need to be reminded of that. Even me, even doing this and talking about this, I still need to be reminded that I need to be aware. So being aware, I want to invite you to begin to notice the thoughts that you're having that are self-critical about the way you are coping or not coping, like thoughts like, I should not be feeling sad, angry, upset about whatever the situation is. I would encourage you to get a journal. I would have this journal as separate to your regular journal, and this is specifically about monitoring your thinking, or perhaps create a section in your current journal. And what I'd like you to do is, on a regular basis, to open your journal, and for each thought that is self-critical, identify and write down a more compassionate way to view your response to the situation. For example, I should not have been angry at the children, or your kids. It could be replaced with, feeling frustrated is normal when you're a parent, and all parents feel angry sometimes. Okay? Can you see how I shouldn't have been angry at the kids? And then feeling frustrated is normal when you are a parent, and all parents feel angry sometimes. Can you feel the difference there? It's better, it's lighter, it's easier. Okay? I want you to do this just a few times on paper or in your journal. And what I want you to notice is the more that you become, the more that you write it down, the more aware you'll become. You become your own, personal detective and personal coach, really. And you're really engaging your inner coach to invite yourself to shift from one type of thinking to another. If you're having any difficulty with that, feel free to jump on board my Facebook page at facebook.com/Katrina Cavanough. And if you go there and post a question to me about this process, I'm happy to answer it there, or I may bring it up, bring it forward onto one of the shows coming up. So that's the first step. Start identifying your thoughts and then look at how you can replace them with some other options. The next step is to appreciate your innocence. Okay, it's really important to remember that when we're faced with a situation where we don't feel that we handled it well, I want to invite you to ask yourself one simple question, and that's this. Based on what you know so far, is there any way that your response to the situation is understandable? Okay, so just want you to write that question down. Based on what I know so far, is there any way my response to the situation is understandable? Any way? If you allow yourself enough time, you will find that the answer is always yes, because all of us take action based on the knowledge and the resources that we have available to us at the time. And that's the beauty of hindsight. We learn something new, for example, something like this, or we learn something new about ourselves or a situation, and then we can look back and say, gosh, I would have done that differently if I'd known. Of course. But that's not what this is about. This is about what you knew, and more importantly, the resources, the inner resources, the knowledge, the physical resources, the practical resources that you had available to you. If, for example, you're a person who is parenting under pressure, these are people I've worked with a lot in my life, under the pressure of low financial means, no social support, limited family support, and you're parenting in that context, then you're parenting under pressure. And so you will, excuse my voice, you will respond differently. You will respond differently to someone who has an abundance of support, have regular respite from their children. So I think it's really, really important to be kind to yourself and really consider that question. I'm going to say it one more time. Note to self, I still haven't got that glass of water with me. Based on what I know so far, is there any way that my response to the situation is understandable? So that's the second step. The third step and final step is to nurture your self-perception with compassion. So using the power of visualization, I want you to find a quiet place and create an image in your mind of the 3 layers of thought. Remember, your outer layer of thought, our thoughts become things. In middle layer of thought, our thoughts. It's not our thoughts, it's not the situation, but the way we respond that matters the most. And then the inner layer of thought, our self-perception about the way we're responding to our life. I want you to imagine those 3 layers of thought. I want you then to sit quietly and using your powerful imagination and visualization, I want you to see yourself in a situation where you are criticizing yourself. I'm sure you can think of an example. See the 3 layers of your thoughts, and as you focus upon the layer of thought that is closest to you, the thoughts that relate to your perception of yourself in this situation, notice those thoughts resting on a bed of compassion, understanding, and kindness. Okay, so at first you might be thinking, gosh, I shouldn't be grieving that way, or I shouldn't have reacted that way to the fellow who cut me off. But what I want you to do is imagine this beautiful bed of compassion and understanding and kindness. And what kind of thoughts would be resting there? The kind of thoughts that would be resting there would be, it's understandable based on what I know so far. Okay, I want you to practice these steps in your life, and I want you to hop on my Facebook page at facebook.com/Katrina Cavanough, and I want you to give me feedback. I want to know how you're going. I want to know whether these 3 steps are actually helping you. If you were to practice that visualization exercise for 5 minutes each day for the next 30 days, you'll begin to notice a difference, because we know at least 21 days, okay? Because we know that when we practice something over and over again, then we start to see change and it becomes a habit. I hope that's been helpful. I'm going to use now. That wisdom, the wisdom that our thoughts matter, and this is the way you implement this wisdom in your life. That has made a phenomenal difference in mine and many of my clients. So I'm really looking forward to hearing how that works for you. You deserve it. You deserve the peace that comes with that. And I hope that you try it and experience the difference it can give you. Now it's time to move on to my questions for the rest of the show. So I would like to begin with, and this is the stuff I find this really fun. I love this. So I'm going to take a deep breath, just pause for a moment. And I'm going to set the intention to be of service to all of those people that I'll be covering. We are coming up to a break, so I'll get as many done as I can before the break, but otherwise we've got a full 15 minutes after the break to cover everyone, I'll be able to do that. So today I'm going to be talking to Adriana. I'll be talking to you. I'll be talking to you, Chris Winter. I'll be talking to you, Karen Martin, Nicole Akehurst, and Kelly Oxley. I'll be talking to all of you. I'll be getting through your questions, and I'm really, really looking forward to it. Let me begin by taking a deep breath and setting the intention to be of service to you. Calling on my spiritual team to open up my channels and ensure clarity and accuracy as I respond to your questions. I dedicate this time. I dedicate all that I am to be of service to all of you. Namaste. Okay. Adriana, I'm going to start with you. We've only got about a minute to go before we go to the break. So I will see what I can get done, and we can come back. So Adriana, your question is, will my former mate and I get back together? We both truly believe that we're twin flames, but we let fear and doubt pull us apart. And I'm just going to take a deep breath and have a look at that, Adriana. I can see you with your twin flame. I can see you now. The energy of you two is very much together, and that's beautiful. I see some time of reflection. I see some time of a lot of conversation and discussion. And I can seeing a little bit of conflict as well between the two of you. That's right. And now there's tension in your relationship, but that's the nature of twin flame relationships, isn't it? I'm going to have a bit of a closer look over the break, and Adriana, I'll be having a more clearer answer for you coming up soon after the break. You're listening to I Am Wisdom with Katrina Cavanough.
The future of internet radio is here. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Hi, this is Angela Levesque, host of Entanglement Radio. Join me Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern for inspiring conversations with visionaries in spiritual science and conscious healing. Entanglement Radio, Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern. Transcendent talk for the conscious mind.
Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community. Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. OMTimes Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business.
Radio Namaste leads you down the yellow brick road into portals of consciousness with the blue collar goddess as your host. Interviews with humans who could be famous or just popular, and answers to everything are on the agenda. Tune into OMTimes Radio and drop in on Thursdays at 3 Eastern. It's a different brand of enlightenment.
Connecting you with the best of the conscious minds in the world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Hi, it's Katrina Cavanough here, and you're listening to I Am Wisdom on OMTimes Radio. And we're right in the process of sharing with you some intuitive and spiritual reflections for some of my wonderful listeners. So I'm beginning with you, Adriana, and your question is, as we've already discussed, about a question about will you and your former mate get back together as you are twin flames? I've been looking over the break, and Adriana, I can't see you guys apart. So I appreciate there's been some tension. I appreciate there's been some conflict, but I want you to trust the connection that actually exists. I do believe you have some quote unquote sorting out to do. You do. I see you having some conversations. I see there being a lot of reflection. I would like to say that your mate is someone who I would encourage them to find a different way to experience their anger. We all only ever do our anger based on what we know, and I talk about that with my clients all the time. Even people who hurt other people physically or emotionally, when they're expressing their anger, they're usually doing that because that's what they know how. That's how they know how to do anger based on what they've been shown in their life so far. So I would invite your mate to have some gentle but poignant and powerful reflection on what's going on for them. It feels like there needs to be a bit of movement there. And because I see their anger and then I see your despair or your, what would I say? Like a sigh. I can see you sighing. I can see you feeling helpless and hopeless, I think, sometimes when that anger and frustration and tension's around. I do see once that happens, and that sits in the land of the possible. Okay, so this is the person's choice. I do see if and when that happens, I do see there being peaceful times, lots of laughter. Again, I'm asking. I think your mate needs to work a bit on anxiety and stress and pressure they have in their life as well. And I feel that if they do that, there will be much more room for you to both move forward. So that's what I see for you, Adriana. Chris. Chris, your question is, I've been recently told that I will find love and get married again. Do you see this for me? I'm quite happy being single as I've needed time to grow and find myself, but I'm ready to move on and meet someone special. Well, I love that, Chris. That's beautiful. It's nice to have that balance of being comfortable in your own skin enough to be single. It doesn't happen for all people. I know certainly years and years ago when I was single, I wasn't very comfortable with it, but I've since done a lot of work on myself, and I think it's something that's a state of mind, and it's a journey to be comfortable. But I really respect those who struggle with it because we are social creatures. We're meant to be connected, and of course we notice that gap. But for you, good on you. You've been able to do that, and that's beautiful. Let me have a look intuitively. Okay. I see for you at the moment, I do see you still doing some reflection. Okay. I see someone in your future, and yes, I do see the shine of a ring or a diamond, or I'm just getting a flash of something, but I'm also getting the word commitment. So it may be marriage or it may be commitment, but I do see an option of someone asking you. To be honest, what I do see is when you meet this person, they are sitting in your future. They're not sitting in the now. They're not too far away though. I do see you not when you meet this person. It's not someone you meet and go woo woo woo. They're great. Oh. It's not like that. You meet them. They're very keen on you, and you're a little bit hesitant because I think in the moment of meeting the person, you're aware of what you're letting go, stepping back into the world of a relationship. So there's a bit of hesitation. They are keen to move quick, and you're keen to keep it at a steady pace. I think what happens is there's a coming together in the middle is what I'm being shown. You get more comfortable with them, moving forward in a little bit of a quicker way in the relationship, and they slow down a little bit, and you find your balance between the two of you. And what I see happening there is they've got a really gentle way about them, and they're good for you. I see children around you, and I see some confusion for the children, but what I see is over time they come to a place of understanding. So if that resonates for you, if that's been accurate for you, again, working with children and supporting them to be comfortable in blended families is a passion of mine. So feel free to connect with me if you need any further assistance with that. But so I am seeing that you will meet someone, and I think though it's not quite just yet, but it's not. I'm being shown a 3, so it could be 3 weeks, 3 months, something like that. And I feel that this person is very, what is it about them that I need to tell you? They're a great conversationalist. They're a good talker, good listener and talker. And I can see you both joining together and having really busy and interesting and lively conversations and laughter. It's beautiful. I love it. So yes, Chris, that's what I see for you. I want to move on now to Karen Martin. Karen, you say to me, "Hi, Katrina. My mum, her friend, and my best friend and I are going on a cruise on the 1st of March. Woo! That's exciting. Just wondering if we're going to have fun and will I meet a holiday lover? Big fan of holiday lovers. They're a great experience. So what I'm going to do is have a look for you. Let me see, Karen. Yes, I see that you're having lots of fun. I see that you're having lots of fun, but there is someone with you. And I'm just going to give you the heads up because what we do is anything we see is based on what someone's thinking and feeling and believing now. And if you change your thoughts and feelings, which gives you the prediction, right? So if you change your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs now, you can shift the outcome at the end for most things. And I'm seeing someone around you, maybe someone elderly, so it might be your mum or your mum's best friend, or your mum's maybe, that's your mum and your best friend, sorry. Someone who's older than you anyway. And they're struggling a little bit. Maybe it's the seasickness, maybe it's something like that. I can see them, they're fine, but I see them struggling just a little bit. So I just want to give you the heads up and you can maybe then prepare for that person. I could be wrong and that's fine. Now, are you meeting a holiday lover? I think you have the choice of a couple of people actually, and I think you have quite a bit of fun with one. And yes, I do see, without looking too intrusively into your sex life, I do see some a holiday lover as a definite possibility, if not a guaranteed thing for you. Again, I'd love you to give me that feedback as to whether that's accurate or not. I love getting feedback from people, but that's what I see for you, and it's going to be lovely. It's going to be lovely. Couple of days rainy, but there's plenty of things that you can do to get around that. You might feel a little bit disappointed with some aspects of the weather, but just know it's going to be okay. Okay, oops. So I hope that answers that question for you, Karen. So the other people I've got here are, I've got Kelly Oxley and Nicole. Nicole, you've said to me, "Hi Katrina, I'm becoming aware of recurring emotions that keep arising, different situations, yet some familiar feeling throughout them. I feel there is a lesson to be learned in these situations, but I'm unsure how they are to be healed and released. If you have any advice, this would be appreciated." Nicole, for you, I see a very clear feeling about focusing on things that are important and what you're focusing externally to yourself is actually a reflection of what you're feeling within yourself. So it's getting the balance between what you're focusing on seeing and how that reflects. So that's something where we basically, if we have, for example, an experience where we've had people who are angry in our life, it's not uncommon that we'll go through life and we'll notice anger more in others. If we have a loving experience, we notice love more from others. So this is about recognizing the link between the way you've been treated and the lens that's given you as you look forward into your own life. And I'm very happy to talk with you more about that, and really looking forward to do it. But that, I think, is the theme, that same familiar feeling that's coming up for you. So let's talk about that. Note that down, Nicole, because I think, and certainly send me a message or please keep that in mind because that's something that I really want to explore with you. And I hope that's answered that question. Kelly, your question is, my daughter seems to be talking about passed on family members, or is it past lives? I encourage her to talk and we have some fascinating conversations. Also, I feel as if I'm mature enough to explore my own abilities and it seems like I'm being guided that way. How do you feel about it? I say yes, 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 yes. So with your daughter, I feel like she is definitely aware of the afterlife and I see her connecting saying yes to both of those. So I see her connecting to loved ones in spirit from this lifetime, and there's a significant person that's coming through from a past life for her that has a male energy, and they're there to, what are you doing there? I think you're there to, and that person, that male energy person connects and talks to her a lot in her bedroom. And I see them watching over her, not so much as a spirit guide or guardian angel, but just as a presence that has an interest in her life this time around, because there's a theme from that life to this life. Um, and it's related to something that happens. And I would like to talk to you a little bit more about this off air, because it's nothing disturbing, but it's something that's important for you to know. And so I'll be making contact with you and endeavoring to do that, because there's a lot more detail that I need to share with you about that, Kelly. But it's just something that happened in a past life, and this energy is coming forward, and they're just there to ensure that she moves forward this lifetime unencumbered. So I don't really know what that means. I'm going to consult with my spirit guides to answer that question for you. But certainly that's the answer to that. And that's why you're not sure, because you're feeling both things. You're feeling past life, and you're feeling past on family members, because they're both active and present in your daughter's life. You are mature enough. Everyone's mature enough. And I think the fact that you're interested in it means that you are guided that way. And I think it's time. And I believe that you need to work a lot with color. They're showing me color and auras as a place for you to begin, and I hope that makes sense for you. That about finishes all my amazing intuitive insights, and know that I will be doing that each week. So please hop on board to my Facebook page. I'll say it one more time. It's facebook.com/Katrina Cavanough. You've been listening to I Am Wisdom with Katrina Cavanough here today on OMTimes Radio. If you would like to connect with me, I have a running offer for all of my listeners here. If you would like a discount, a 25% discount on an intuitive individual session, you contact me and let me know you've been listening, and I can offer that to you. Thank you for listening. Enjoy your evening, enjoy your day, have a good sleep or have a good day. Looking forward to talking to you next time. Thank you for allowing me to be of service to you. Goodbye.